My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. All right, today we have another watch from my wife's collection. So this is the Q Timex, and this is the rose gold and black colorway. So as always, we're going to do specifications, pros, cons, and then if I think this watch is worth the money. But before we begin, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you like the content of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. So starting with the case, we have 38mm case diameter, 45 millimeters lug to lug. It's only 12 millimeters thick, but you'll notice about a millimeter is that domed acrylic crystal. Then it's 20 millimeters here at the lug. As for finishing, this is an all stainless steel case, and it is mostly high polish actually. The only place there's brushing is at the end of these two lugs, but you do have high polish across the rest of the watch, but you do have a nice chamfered edge here along the side. The overall case is quite short at 45 millimeters, so it's going to wear good on a variety of wrists. The bracelet starts at 20 millimeters, it tapers all the way down to 16 millimeters. It's this playful combination of rose gold links and then pink links there. I really like the overall effect. And then sizing on this is super simple. They used a non-tool sizing system. So this is the flexi bracelet. It can pull hairs, but my wife said that once she got it sized right, it didn't really pinch her too much. But you'll notice here at the end, these ones don't actually flex. And I'll actually show you how these work. It's a really cool tool-free system for sizing. So this is the first time I've seen the system, and it's really ingenious. So on the non-stretchy links, you'll see there is a textured surface. All you have to do to size this is you press in on the textured surface and pull, and they just detach like that. So you just remove the correct number of links that you need to size your wrist, and then you can clip the remaining part ends of the strap back together. And putting it back together is as easy as lining it up, depressing the button, and just inserting it back in. It's a little hard to do on camera, so I'm going to quickly do this off camera. But while I have the bracelet unlocked like this, you can see a great view of the case back. So right away, you're going to see that battery hatch. That's going to make very easy battery changes. You just open that hatch and they even tell you what battery you need there to put in. Now, from my understanding, this is a Seiko quartz movement, so you should get very high accuracy, and I would guess the battery life should last for about 3 years. The other thing on here, you can see that this is a water-resistant watch to 50 meters. You do have an unsigned push-pull crown here, and it's a little small, but since this is a quartz watch, you won't be operating the watch that often once you get the time set. Usually you'll just have to change the date once in a while. The date is quick set, which is nice, but the day of the week is not quick set. You'll actually have to advance the watch to get that to change. But again, with the quartz watch, you won't have to change it that often. The crystal is this wonderfully domed acrylic crystal. You get some great distortions when you're looking at this watch from the side. And overall, acrylic just makes the watch really warm. The only downside is you might pick up a few scratches. However, you can get those out very easily with a little poly watch. But overall, just for the retro feel of this watch, I love that they went with this acrylic crystal. Now, it's a 12-hour bezel. It also kind of has that GMT style. Half of it is black, half of it is rose gold. It's bi-directional, and it's a friction fit bezel, so it actually just slides. There's no clicks here. However, it is pretty sturdy when you get it into place, and it is pretty fun to operate. The coin edge gives a good grip, and they actually blacked out part of the bezel from the side, and it just gives it a little bit more visual interest overall. So the dial is a matte black, and then in more of a regular gold tone, you have Q Timex at 12, quartz at 6, a framing around the date and day window, and then each of the dashes for the minutes is more of this gold tone, and then around the indices they used more of a rose gold tone, and then you'll also notice on the second hand it's pink. So overall there's this really interesting conflux of colors on this dial, and I think it's a really warm, along with the acrylic crystal, overall effect, and I find it quite charming and quite striking. For the handset, we have a Mercedes hand for the hour, a nice long minute hand. I love to see that minute hand terminating all the way out at the dashes for the minutes. And then that pink second hand, it has a slight counterbalance. The finishing on the hands is all high polish, and they're that kind of gold tone to match some of the other aspects of the dial. Overall, very legible with this handset and these indices. Now the hands and indices are lumed. However, the lume, it's not very responsive, it's not very bright, and it doesn't last very long. I would have loved to see Timex use their Indiglo technology here and just kind of forgone the lume. That is one of the improvements that I would have had for this watch, but just if you're a lume junkie, you're not going to be blown away by the lume on this watch. It exists, I just don't think it's very good. So after singing the praises of the bracelet sizing system, I realized all the other links are out in a box in the garage, so I'm just going to hold it up to my wrist here. But you can see there's a lot going on with those alternating colors on the bracelet, that blacked out edge of the bezel, that domed acrylic crystal, and then a great size 38mm case diameter, 45mm lug to lug. So if your wrist is a little bit on the smaller side, mine is 6 3/4 inch, it's going to fit you quite perfectly. So pros and cons. Well, starting with the pros, I think this watch has a charming design, and this is a very striking colorway that you can choose to go with here. Secondly, it's a practical quartz watch, and it has a useful 12-hour bezel. You can use that to time things. You can also use it to track a second time zone. And then third, the tool-free sizing system on the bracelet is the first of its kind I've seen, and it's very easy and quick to use. And I'd like to see it implemented on more bracelets, to be honest. As far as the cons, the Lume just isn't that great, and I think if you're not going to do good Lume, you should just forgo it. And Timex has this wonderful technology called Indiglo. I would have loved to see it used here. So is this watch worth the money? Well, the MSRP on these is $189, and they come in a plethora of colors. I think it's a reliable quartz piece with a fun vintage design. However, I would definitely hold off for a sale. I've seen the Q Timex be much closer to $100 than its MSRP price. So I think if you want one of these, just hold out. Timex does sales pretty frequently, and just wait for a good 20-30% off sales on one of these, and then I think it is worth picking one up if you see one that strikes your fancy. So there you have it, the Q Timex. What do you guys think about this watch in general? And then what do you think about this very interesting colorway? You can leave a comment below, and as always, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you like the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you have been watching Just Watches.